as a woman, as a man, you must have your own standards, right? And I believe if you have those standards,
Mm-hmm.
then and you put them on the table, and the other person is aware, your spouse is aware of it, and they're not meeting those standards, then the question is why? Why not? Or why aren't you willing to meet the standards? Let's
Now.
say it's okay not to be there right now,
Oh yeah.
but are you working towards meeting them?
Okay.
And if you're not, then I believe you shouldn't be wasting another person's time.
Mm.
It's like, I'm gonna give you a quick example, right? Like when we got together, the first thing you said is, "Hey, I'm not looking to just mess around or have like whatever type of relationship. I'm looking to have a marriage,
Mm-hmm.
right?" That's a standard that you set, and I'm like,
Look.
"Well, wait, let me finish." I was like, "Wow, that's a standard. Like I've never heard that before." Another thing is too is like, you know what? I'm Catholic and this is my faith and this is what I'm gonna be. I'm not changing that for nothing else.
Oh no.
So either you convert. I mean, I didn't have to convert because I was like raised Catholic and I'm a Catholic believer. I was just not being guided, or I was like away from my faith. But you set that standard. That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, I had to ask myself, am I gonna meet those standards or not?
Yeah.
Right? And if the answer was no, or I was not willing to,
Mm-hmm.
then there was no point of the relationship.
Yeah. Totally.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna add to whatever Jonathan was saying. The fact that we were in his car, no, in my car. We were going to the outlets in Pearland, and
I didn't have a car, by the way.
we were talking about it, and I told him straight forward, and I told him, I'm not here to just, I'm not just, I'm here not clarifying, just to have a sexual relationship. Meanwhile, we get to know each other. I told him if we're not gonna get married, if the goal is not to get married, because we lived for like a year together, if I'm not mistaken. We lived together
Not
first.
before that though.
Not before that.
No,
No,
not
no,
before
not
that.
before
Yeah.
that. It was after that. The goal was to get married, but unfortunately, we were still not in a position where we wanted to, we could do that immediately. So but we were working on it. So like Jonathan said, maybe the desire is there, but work on it every single day.
Yeah.
We're definitely not shaming anybody here.
No,
We're
no.
just saying let's work on it every single day, because if not, it comes down that you just get used to it and think that that's okay. And it's not okay because we're living in sin. Okay.
Correct.
And so I was going to add that we were driving and I told him that. And then he told me that he went back home and he thought about it very, very, like a serious question. It was just like, wow, nobody has ever asked me that.
I've never heard of something like that.
So for me, I don't even know where I got that from, but I think it's because of all the retreats that I've been through, and that they told me what it was right from wrong. So I was very clear on the vision and what I wanted. I've dated before, Jonathan, and I told them the same thing. Some of them were Protestants, and they were just kind of like thinking maybe if they were going to convert or not, if it was going to be worth it. But, Jonathan never really gave me any buts. He was just,
But then on top of all of that, on the business side, she also let me know that she had standards, that she had values, that she was a respectable woman. She was just not like, partying, clubbing, or out here doing um, the average thing. And that made me really think about it. And I'm like, wow, I believe she's what I've been praying for. Um, and the craziest part about all of this is that the first day my mom met her, like we weren't even dating, we weren't even talking. We're like the first day meeting to do business, um,
sign up.
to sign up to my business. And I didn't have a car, so I was borrowing my mom's car. I was meeting her at a Starbucks, and I'm like, hey, I need to go drop off my mom to my to somewhere. And do you want to wait for me here, or you want to go with us? And she's like, you know what, I'll go. So that's how she met my mom. Uh, and later that night, I got home, and my mom's like, you're gonna marry her. And I just started laughing. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, she just signed up for my business. Like, we're not even talking like that, or like it's like business. And she just started laughing. She's like, okay, pues de mí te vas a acordar que con ella te vas a casar. And
Here we
that's
are.
exactly how it was. That's exactly how it was. But to get back to what we're saying is, don't be scared to have standards. And if the your spouse is not meeting them yet, that's fine. But also set a plan, set
Mhm.
some action towards meeting
Yeah.
those standards. Uh, and if there's nothing that they're willing to do, if they're not willing to work on that, or both they work towards each other's standards, then I mean it's honestly a complete waste of time, because deep
Yeah.
down you're truly gonna have resentment
Oh
in
yeah.
the long run for that person. Like, oh man, I wanted to get married,
Especially after you have
and here
kids.
we are 20 years plus later, we already have kids and we never got married, right? Or now to get back to that, I would like to know, right? Because when you say that, like, oh, don't make your spouse like your God. Can you give some examples? Because some people may be doing that and they don't really know what that looks like, because
Well, the first example,
they're
it's
not
what you
aware.
said, that they're not meeting your standards and you're still willing to be there and do whatever they have going on in their life, and whatever they say, and you know perfectly that that's not leading you closer to God, that's keeping you away from God. So
God.
anything that's keeping you away from God, you're making that as your God. It can be work, it can be business, it can be pleasures, it can be anything. It can be money, anything that's leading you away from God, that's your God. That's really what I mean. And in a
Mm,
partnership, in a bit, I mean, in a business, in a marriage, it can, for example, it can also be one is not getting married and being in sin and not willing to
mhm.
work through that. The second one, even in marriages that are already married,
Yep.
it can be to the point where you're constantly fulfilling your spouse's pleasure and not God's will. So let's just say your partner says, I don't want to have kids, and you want to have kids.
Hmm.
And God's plan is for us to recreate, right? And if that is in your plan that God wants for you, but your partner's telling you not to have kids and you continue to go through that plan and not willing to talk to him and try to figure something out, I mean, I feel like that's also considering, making him your God, because you're just obeying something that's not right. And it's keeping you away from the will of God.
Yep.
How do we know that those kids are not going to do something amazing in your life and you're stopping that blessing because you're just choosing to basically like not hear God's voice?
That's true. That's 100% true, because if I think about it, like in our lives, if we wouldn't have had King, we wouldn't have had our kids, like I feel like we wouldn't have no true purpose in life. We would have never gotten closer to God. We would have never decided to grow in our faith, or maybe we would have, but it would have taken maybe a lot, because realistically, we were so lost in the world. Like, you know,
Now, that doesn't mean there's a lot of people that are not able to conceive and God has other plans for those marriages, and that doesn't mean that they don't have purpose. That doesn't mean that they're not worth it. That doesn't mean they're not doing God's will. No, they are perfectly where they're at. And even in a marriage, because because they're not able to conceive, not because you don't want to, but because
yeah,
they're not able
that's a whole
to,
different thing. That's a whole different
not
subject.
because you're not able to, that means that, honestly, for me, it's like God has something in store for you that, he knows exactly what he's doing. So he never, you know um does anything for worst. He does everything for better, and we have to trust that plan. So I personally just feel that that's a very main topic. Like, a lot of people put their spouses first instead of putting God first. And that's really something that even we have to work on.
Hmm.
The first thing in the morning is always putting God first, praying, and really giving him the time he deserves. And then after that, going on with our daily chores and obligations. So,
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we've learned to do is, like, before anything that we do, before anything that we do is like we pray to God, right? Before we and give thanks to God before when we wake up, before breakfast, after breakfast, when we're with our kids, when we read the rosary. I mean,
Pray the
pray the
rosary.
rosary when we get on the truck to leave the house, and it's super important that we're doing that not just for ourselves but for our kids that they're able to see that, right? Because even like when we go to sleep and I tell King, hey, go give the bottle to your sister
Mhm.
and tell her to pray, and he goes and he gives her the bottle and he prays. And I think that's extremely yep.
Mhm.
I think that's extremely important because they're seeing and observing everything, so whatever we do they're also going to do it.
Yep. 100% agree.
I want to King Silver.
You want a King Silva?
Yeah.
Okay, you can write right here your name.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that being said, look what my son can do. King, los días de la semana son 7 días, 7 días, 7 días.
Los días de la semana son 7 días
Y
y así se llaman.
Lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado, domingo.
Yep.
Bravo.
You got it.
High five.
High five.